Hey, everybody. Wanted to come on live for your Friday free training. And today I want to talk about how do you determine what kind of structure you should have for your course. And that leads to what kind of tech do you need for your course. And it really, really depends. So one of the things that I can just absolutely stress to you is it's all about the strategy, less about the tech. So let's walk through that a little bit today because I think that I have some insight that may help you when you are considering what kind of course site to create and how to really look at it from a business perspective. So there's essentially two different ways to think about your how you're putting together your course. One is to create a course site, and one is to create a membership site. Both have very different goals and intentions, both from a business perspective and from a learner's perspective. But that's one of the kind of the first things that you need to decide as you are looking at building your online course, right? So totally less about creating videos, less about all of that, more about deciding like what kind of structure makes the most sense for what you're teaching. So I want to dive into that today as part of this training is really looking at how do you determine that and what is the difference, and then what tools are available for each one. So hopefully this is going to serve you today as we kind of dive into a little bit more of the tech. So a course site in and of itself is really about you are teaching how to acquire a skill, change a behavior, something that has a starting point and ending point, right? A lot of times we talk about this in terms of that results path, that success path is where's your learner today? And ultimately, where do they want to be, right? How do we actually solve that problem for them and give them a transformation? So they're starting at step one and they're ending at step 6 or 7 or whatever, however many steps that you have, right? That is a specific course framework that allows you to teach it so it has a starting point and a stopping point. And it's not necessarily something that's ongoing. So typically within your business model, what this looks like is it's a stop along the path, right? So they're coming into your world because they have a particular pain, a problem, a challenge that they're trying to solve. They come into your course, they get that solution, that transformation, and then they move on to the next step with you, which is going deeper, going to a more advanced level, acquiring more competency so they can, achieve more, right? But the course itself fits in the middle, and it's really where they're acquiring the skills that they need to be successful at whatever level you are trying to teach them. A membership site, on the other hand, really is about an ongoing relationship where you're teaching various concepts so somebody can continually evolve and transform through the whole process. So it doesn't necessarily matter which one you choose in terms of from that perspective, but they are two totally different things, and you have to consider that from a business perspective, how much time you want to put in, and then also from a transformation perspective for your learner. So let me just show you from just a little bit more specific so you can get your head around this. So let me share my screen. Okay, so this is what I was talking about, right? So you have one course, and within that course is one framework, right? You have the steps that take them along the path to get to that transformation. And there is one clear path. There's one clear framework that you're teaching. Now, around that, you could have various things that you add in, right? You could have community that you create. You could have additional trainings or bonus trainings that help them with advanced topics or things that sort of surround the framework. But at the essence, it's just one course, and it's you are creating it, you're giving them that experience, and they go through it, and then they're done. There's no continuation of the course in this structure. It's just they're just taking a course, and then they move on to the next step of your value ladder, which could be group coaching, or it could actually be that continuity, that membership program, or something else that you're ascending them to. But from a course perspective, you are focused on what is that transformation for that particular framework that you have. And so this puts you in the place where it's a lot easier to do that automation, right? You're not doing ongoing content. You create it, and then you sell it. And whether you add a coaching component to it or a live component to it is up to you, but there is a specific framework that they're following. All right, so then the second option with this is, what happens if you have a course that has different components to it? So a lot of times we call multiple courses that lead to that one transformation as a curriculum. That's kind of the technical term for it. But basically what that means is there's a series of courses that make up one transformation. And so this is, again, you're taking, the structure for one course, and you're just duplicating that in multiple course series. So for example, I have a client who has a comprehensive program that ends up with one transformation, but multiple courses to get there, because there are multiple sort of steps along the path that they have to go through comprehensively before they can move forward. So this becomes a bigger animal, right? A bigger curriculum where, maybe you have the beginner, intermediate, and advanced, right? That's a curriculum. Or you have just different parts and pieces of it, right? Where there's 5 different things that they need to do to actually get to that transformation that's bigger than just the framework. Then you may think about creating a curriculum. So this again is similar to the course, right? But the way that you're laying it out for that learner is different, right? So take, for example, if you're using a course site like ClickFunnels, right? You use their membership area. What's happening is in ClickFunnels, it's very basic. And so you create the structure, and then it looks kind of like this: step 1, step 2, step 3, right? So you have that. What happens is, if you want to create separate courses, each course becomes its own membership area, which means that in this scenario, the learner would have to log into 6 different places in order to get that. Or if you did it all in one members area, they would have 6 different big buckets to go through. And that's very, very daunting for somebody who's trying to learn to get to that transformation. So a lot of times we like to, structure the courses as a curriculum. So you see that, you finish this course and then you move on to the next one and the next one. So you're kind of building, but it's still around the concept of one discrete course for each part of the series, right? It's not ongoing adding additional content, additional things over time. It's very discrete in terms of that way. So then the third model is really the subscription or the full membership site, which is really more of a continuity site, meaning that people come in and they pay month over month over month to access the various things that are on the site. So the site is more living and breathing, right? It's not you put it out there and then people go through it and they get that transformation. This is more around, how do you build that community? How do you build that area where people are going to continuously get support, community, and new content that's coming up? And the biggest thing around this is it's really all centered still on that one transformation. It's not like I'm going to teach my 52 different courses on 52 different topics and throw them all in here and hope that people can figure out what to do. This is still very focused on the one transformation that you want to make. And then what are the things around that help support that? So typically there's still your course is in there, which is the skills acquisition. And then there are additional resources and tools and mini trainings and different things like that help support their journey along the way. So the biggest difference with this, other than its continuity, which means that people are paying month after month. So from a business model perspective, you're just looking at 2 different business models. But the other big thing is that this is a living and breathing site. So you have to be continuously adding new content, continuously kind of feeding the machine. So you're building this entity that is continuously moving, right? Versus a course, which is you build it, you teach it, and then they get the transformation and move to the next step. This is just that continuous building. So different models, but it's really important to think through which model fits what you're teaching and which model you want to lead with in your business, because again, the amount of time you're spending, the effort, and what you're providing for people is different, and so it's really leading with that. Then once you've kind of determined which one makes the most sense for you, or maybe it's a hybrid of both, right? So one of the things that I have is the course itself, Learn Academy, which has 8 weeks of, you go through it top to bottom and learn how to create, sell, and launch your online course. And then we have sort of this subscription membership site, which gives people ongoing support and resources and tools as they grow their site. Which, because you launch your site and it's not necessarily a one and done, right? You've got to sell it, you've got to find people for it, you've got to build your authority, you've got to come up with new ways to engage people, to get them interested in completing the course, and all those kinds of things. And so I know I can continuously provide value for people over time, and that's when this subscription model becomes something that's really vital, right? So I have that as part of a coaching component, that I'm consistently adding new content. So it doesn't mean you have to pick one or the other, but when you're starting, you have to be really clear of which one you're creating, because you don't want to muddy the waters, right? This one, the course site, you have to have one clear path and one transformation, which means honestly, 80% of your content that you think that you need to teach probably is out the window. You don't need it, because you're going to focus on what that learner needs to be successful and get to that transformation. And typically it's a lot less than you think, because they just need to get in the game and get to that, that transformation that you're promising them, not all of the stuff. So if you are more in the camp of you want to get people started, have them go through the transformation, and then be able to provide them so much more support as they're going through and applying what you're teaching, then this is a great secondary step, right? Which is a subscription membership site that allows you to continuously support them and continue that relationship. So then once you've kind of determined this, then you can go out and find the right tool that fits for what you want to create, right? So for example, I mentioned ClickFunnels earlier. If you're doing one course, ClickFunnels is fine, right? Like we can debate the experience that the learners would have, which is a whole different conversation. But from a basic perspective, you can get it done in ClickFunnels and put your course out there. However, if you start looking at it from this perspective, this becomes a little bit harder for your learners to manage, because they have to either manage 6 different logins if you are creating a curriculum, or you have to have an interim page somewhere else that shows them how to see all of it together. I was working on someone else's program, and one of the most confusing things about it was, well, where do I go? Like, what's the next thing for me to purchase so I can continue learning? Because I knew I wanted to learn. I knew I was excited to learn what the options were, but because they only had this option, I couldn't see the big picture, right? So I couldn't see that, oh, well, the next step for me is to take this part of the series, or this part of the series, or this part of the series, right? So it's very easy as a learner to go through and pick out the pieces that you need. So that becomes a consideration when you pick a tool, is you want to have more of, we call it a dashboard, where people can see the big picture, they can see the big path. Adult learners need to see the big picture in order for them to kind of get how it all fits together. So it's really critical that you have this. And then if you're deciding to do a subscription or membership site, then you need to have additional features that are integrated into the tool that allow a learner to log in and get everything that they need in a really concise and organized fashion. Because again, a confused mind does not learn, confused mind doesn't purchase, and a confused mind does not go through your stuff, right? They're out. And we already have the problem of 97% of people don't finish courses or engage. And it's because we haven't been really intentional about how we're organizing things. And so, especially when you're doing a subscription or membership site, being really focused on that one transformation and all the things that you can build that support that one transformation. So don't use this as like a, catch all, throw it all in there kind of place, because just adding more content does not add more value. And so you still have to be really strategic about this. So hopefully this helps in terms of how you start thinking about what you need and what matches what you're teaching and how you want to run your business for online courses. If you have questions about this, put your comments below and ask questions. If this is something that you want help kind of figuring out how to think through this with your material or your course that you either have or you're creating, just give me a shout. Love to talk through it with you. But this becomes a critical part of how you think about structuring what you're creating, because it's not just about like, oh, I think I'm going to use this random tool and putting your stuff in the tool, because that's not going to serve you from a business perspective, especially as you grow and scale it. It really needs to make sense from your learner's perspective, because trust me, like I have tons of people come to me and they're like, okay, so my learners have to log in like 52 different places and they're all complaining that it's too difficult. And it's like, well, of course it's too difficult, because for them, they just need to go to one place and then you structure it around their experience versus the other way around. So again, here you go. Hopefully this helps from a tech perspective. And just so you know, like from another perspective, is that the more you can map your stuff out like this before you put it in a tool, the better off you're going to be in terms of making sure it's totally dialed in and organized. Because so often people just like sort of start with the tool and start putting things in and then get overwhelmed and abandon their project. So I don't want you to do that. So start from this perspective. Look at one of, which one of these resonates most with what you're trying to create, and then be really intentional about what that looks like as you are building it out. All right, there you go. So I hope everybody has a fantastic afternoon. And again, like I said, throw your comments in or your questions. I am here, so would love to be able to answer those for you. All right.